brand new TaylorMade driver for 2025. I've got the QI35. We're here at Westcliffs and we're going to put them to the test. So first things first, you might be wondering what the 35 stands for. Obviously last year we got the QI10 all for the 10K MOI, but this year the 35 means something a little bit different. So we split it up, so the 3 is for the 3 pillars of performance. So you've got form, fit and function. That is basically what TaylorMade is designing these drivers around. And the 5 stands for the 5 heads. It's kind of 5 heads. So the 5 heads that we have in the range, I've got the LS model. This is what I was fitted for. We've also got the Max, the Core model and the Light. So 4 heads. And then the 5th head, which is kind of a 5th head, kind of not. Essentially, you can get any of the 4 models with the bits on the face filled in with white so that you can use them better with launch monitors. Obviously, that is going to be more for a fitter than it's going to be for the consumer market, but that is technically the 5th model, and that is why we're calling this range the QI35. So we're at the 4th hole here at Westcliffs. I'm going to go in with the LS model, so I was fitted for the LS. I was really excited actually because I've never been fitted into the LS before. I always struggle to hit the LS drivers, but it's always the ones that I really, really like the look of. But some of the technology within the QI35 means that I can be fitted into the low spin, which is really exciting. I'll talk you guys through the tech in a little bit more detail soon, but for now, let's hit some drives. So a little bit loud for an LS, but I don't really mind that. It comes off quite firm from the face, to be honest. I really like how the ball feels coming from that carbon face. I've not been super keen in previous years when you've got that coloured face. I find it a little bit off-putting. But as you can see, TaylorMade have gone for a slightly more toned down approach this year. We haven't got any blue or red on the face, anything like that. And also on the crown of the club, when you have it down at address, you're going to notice a difference there as well. Now we've got this carbon matte grey design which goes all the way over onto the base of the club as well, so very nice and coherent. Definitely very different to the QI10, but personally I really, really like the look of this driver. I am very much a big fan of the amount of forgiveness I'm getting in the LS driver. Like I said, I wouldn't normally be fit into a low spinning model, so it's really nice being able to really swing at it quite hard, knowing that I can with the low spin, and also just having that forgiveness there. Despite coming all the way to Portugal for some testing, we've still got a lot of wind here, and the ball flight that I'm getting for this is perfect for those windy conditions, just launching that little bit lower, and it feels like it's got like a really strong penetrating flight, so I feel like I can really go at this and get a lot out of this driver. Going into some of the tech in the QI35 range, the first big difference that we see compared to the QI10 is the CG position. Now, it's a little bit complicated where they've moved this. Essentially, if you draw a straight line across the club face and you go right in the center, the CG position goes from there all the way to the back of the club. And it's basically, if you think about putting a lot of the mass behind where you're most likely to hit it, you're going to get the most efficient energy transfer into the ball. The other thing with that CG position is it's now lower in the face as well. And the reason for that is if you hit above the CG position, when you catch it a little bit high on the face, you can usually still get away with it pretty well. Anything below that is where you start to see that drop off in performance, some drop off in distances. So they've lowered that CG position basically just to help with those off center strikes and give you more consistency across the entire face. So this is the CG projection, and essentially it's different in each of the models. It's just optimized for that particular model as to where the exact positioning is. The next thing that we have that again is different between each of the 3 models that I have at the minute is the movable weight system. So on the LS, you've got the most control over the weight positioning. So I've got the 2 here, one towards the toe, one towards the heel, and then one right at the back. If we look at the Core model, instead of having these 2 here, you'll have one in the middle and one at the back. That means that you can choose where the positioning of the weight is. If it's further back, it's going to be a little bit more forgiving. If it's closer to the face, it's going to help you get a little bit more ball speed. Whereas then if we go to the Max, that only has one weight at the back. You can choose how heavy you want that weight to be during a fitting session, but there isn't as much adjustability there. The huge benefit of the LS obviously is because I've got these two weights here. If you know where you're going to hit the ball from the face, you can plan for that with the weighting. I know that I always hit it from the toe, so I have a bigger weight in this toe section here just to help me get the most distance out of those toe strikes. We're also into the 4th generation of a carbon twist face here. So same as we see with a lot of driver faces now, you've got that trampoline effect trying to get you some more ball speed, but you've also got these hot spots making it more forgiving across different points of the face. Something else that's a little bit different on the face, you can see we've got these markings here. That is just to make it a little bit more accurate on a launch monitor, pretty much just when you're getting fitted for this driver. In terms of forgiveness, we have still got a 10K model with the Max driver. However, the MOIs in both the LS and the Core models are ever so slightly higher than last year. The Core model has an MOI of 9,000, whereas it was 8,400 last year. And then the low spin driver has an MOI of 7,700 instead of 7,600 last year. So a little bit of an increase, but still just getting more forgiving throughout. So let's take a look at some of the numbers using the Foresight. Now, before we get into this, just want to mention, obviously, I was fitted for the LS driver. There is quite a bit of a difference in the distances here between the LS and then the standard and the Max models. So if we start off with the low spin driver, my average ball speed was coming out at 135. I like to see my ball speed around 133 to 135. So this was on the upper end, which was really nice. And then the carry was coming out at 224 with a total of 244. Again, both those numbers pushing on the upper end, maybe even slightly exceeding the upper end of what I would want to see from a driver. So really good numbers there. Spin rate was down at 2,300, which I would say is pretty standard, pretty good for my driver. The difference then starts to come in when we look at the other two models. Both the Max and the standard, the spin rates were a little bit higher. The standard model, my average spin was 3,200, and the Max, my average spin was 3,500. So definitely an increase there. Both of them were launching higher and reaching quite a higher peak. When I got fitted for it, I was fitted in St Andrews. I said that I wanted a club that was going to work with Links Golf. So you can see why I was fit into the LS there. Both the distances for the Max and the standard are a little bit lower, with the standard model giving me an average ball speed of 134, carry of 213 and a total of 227, whereas the Max was even further down at 132 ball speed, 206 carry and 220 total. Both the standard and the Max were a little bit lower than I would like to see from a driver. Super easy to hit, but you can see why I was fitted into the LS model. One last little challenge to finish off. As you can see, we've got a tricky tee shot up next. It's 210 yards to make the carry. It is downhill, but it's a little bit into wind, so we're gonna have to hit a good shot. Let's see if the LS can do it. Rules are, if I make this, you have to hit that subscribe button. Okay, that might actually be my best drive of the day. Go ball! That was a very, very good shot. Let's go down there and see if we made the fairway. Not only did I make the carry, I ran out of fairway and I almost ran out of hole to play with. So you should definitely hit that subscribe button. So overall, really impressed with the QI35 range, especially obviously this LS model. Like I've been saying, very, very happy that I've got fitted into this. In terms of comparing it to the QI10, last year when I tested out the LS and the QI10, that was the first LS driver that I was like, I could kind of play this. I would struggle a little bit because I was still struggling to control it slightly, but it was the closest I'd ever got to being able to play an LS driver. And then with the QI35, obviously, this is the one that I am looking at playing at the minute. So there's definitely been an increase in the forgiveness with this driver. With the other two models that I tested out as well, they are super, super forgiving. It's really, really hard to hit a bad shot with them, but that is how I felt with the QI10 last year anyway. The only thing was that with the other two models, there was a little bit of a drop off in distance, gaining a little bit more spin and more height, whereas with the LS, I can go at this as hard as I want, still feel like I'm able to control it with a nice lower ball flight and get a lot out of it. price point, we're looking at £529 RRP, so definitely up there, definitely competitive. However, a little bit cheaper than the new Callaway Elite models. When I was hitting this, I was getting very similar vibes to the Callaway Elite models. I think they have a very similar feel in terms of the way the ball comes off the face, but this one is coming in a little bit cheaper. We are going to look to put the 2025 drivers up head to head against each other, so make sure that you're subscribed to check out that video when it comes out. Overall, for me, I would say this is an improvement on the QI10, purely because I was able to hit the LS model, which I still struggled ever so slightly in the QI10. So in my opinion, there's definitely an improvement in the forgiveness and how easy these are to hit, which means I can go into a slightly harder model so that I can get a little bit more speed, a little bit more distance, which I'm very, very happy with. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments, what drivers do you think we should put head to head this year? Thank you for watching and subscribe for more.